Okay, so I'm back. Dr. Aaron Van Gaver, naturopathic doctor. This is episode number 9, and it's going to be about hormone testing and all the things that you should know about hormone testing. My name is Dr. Aaron. I work downtown Vancouver, practice as a naturopathic doctor. I work a lot with hormones, food allergies, GI-based stuff, and of course my favorites are mental health and addiction-based conditions. And so if you're interested in finding out more information, you're welcome to reach out to me. I do complimentary meet and greets where you can come by the office and come sit down with me and just chat with me for a little bit. We can do it over the phone as well. Why I'm doing this is to really reach out to everyone and to hopefully one day create a more regular filming of this and having people come on and touch base with me maybe a couple times a week. Last week what we talked about was IV vitamins, the importance of vitamins in general. We live in a very industrialized society, and if food was created and prepared the way it was 100 years ago, we probably would get all the nutrients and vitamins that we needed from it. But we have we've stripped the soil from minerals, so our root vegetables are growing with less nutrients than they did even in our parents' age. So IV vitamins are one way to bypass that system. You put a needle into the arm and you instill vitamin C, magnesium, calcium, a bunch of the other vitamins, and I talked about the Myers cocktail. So today is going to be a little bit different. Today we're going to talk about hormone testing. It's another thing that I do quite a bit of, and I'm going to highlight a few different kits that we use. First, we're going to talk about adrenal hormones. So again, your adrenal gland sits on top of your kidneys. It secretes a lot of different hormones, including cortisol and epinephrine, as well as a few other sex hormones like DHEA. Testosterone and estrogen can be created there a little bit, as well as a little bit of progesterone. And so the first kit that I'm going to talk about is called the Adrenal Stress Index. Now, it used to be done with a series of saliva tubes. So you would get 4 different tubes like this, and there's little markings on the bottle there. And what would happen is you would be measuring your cortisol levels 4 times in a day. So the people that would get this adrenal stress kit would be people suffering from stress, dealing with sleep issues, low energy throughout the day, maybe even mood issues like depression. So a medical doctor would do a morning cortisol blood draw. So they'd write up a requisition. You would go to Life Labs if you're in Vancouver, and they would draw an 8 o'clock in the morning cortisol test. And that would give you, boom, your cortisol levels at 8 o'clock in the morning. But it's not a very dynamic value. It doesn't tell you much about what your body does throughout the day. So a way of capturing that is to actually capture multiple readings throughout a day. And so one way of doing that is through a saliva test. Again, it's called the Adrenal Stress Index. So you wake up in the morning and within a half an hour you're spitting into this tube. Before lunch you're going to spit into a tube, around dinner, and then before bed you spit into a tube. And what that does with the 4 tubes, it plots your cortisol levels throughout the day, and it gives you a good indication if your adrenals are stressed or if you've got adrenal insufficiency. So if you go to a medical doctor, there's 2 spectrums. You've got either too much cortisol or not enough cortisol. Too much cortisol is something called Cushing's. Not enough is called Addison's. So these are really easy to detect. Blood values work really well for that. The type of conditions that these tests test for are the ones that are kind of in between, that are on those borderlines. So if you're dealing with sleep issues, if you've got low energy throughout the day and you're trying to figure out what that may be, it may be worthwhile doing an adrenal stress index. Another way of doing it is, instead of using saliva, we can actually look for byproducts of hormones in the urine. And so instead of actually spitting into 4 different tubes throughout the day, you get these little kits with these really neat little, it's filter paper really, and same time, before you wake up, or around when you wake up, before lunch, before dinner, and before bed, you would then pee on these filter papers, let it dry, and then mail it off to the lab. What I like about these newer kits, so this is called the Dutch steroid kit, is that they come with a 5th sample, and this sampling can be done in the middle of the night. So if you do wake up and need to use the washroom, you've got a 5th sample that you can use, and this one actually is meant to calculate your melatonin level. And melatonin is kind of the opposite of cortisol. So while your cortisol levels rise in the morning to help you get up it decreases at nighttime to help you sleep. And when the cortisol decreases, the other hormone, melatonin, which many of you probably have heard of, helps with sleep. It's secreted and it helps to balance that day-night 24-hour circadian rhythm that most mammals are on, or many mammals are on. In addition to just the cortisol test and the melatonin, if you do the Dutch steroid test, it actually gives us values for a bunch of other metabolites. So progesterone, estrogen, and testosterone metabolites. So it actually gives us a better indication of how all the hormones play in your body. Hormones are complex. And the reality is, you can't just look at one hormone to figure out what's going on in the body. You actually need to look at a bunch of different hormones to get an idea of how your body is transforming these hormones, meaning where is it pushing it to. So one of the most important things you can do to help stabilize hormones is ensure that you're getting enough healthy fats. You know, we know that young girls that have eating issues, disordered eating, they have delayed puberty. Their breasts don't develop and they don't have their periods until much later. And that's directly due to a lack of cholesterol, which is a building block for most sex hormones. So if you're not eating enough fats, enough healthy fats, and you're looking at building your hormones and balancing them, you need to look at that as a starting principle. Another kit I want to talk about is female hormone panel. Now this is a kit used for women that are having issues with their menses, painful periods, lack of periods. It's also a good kit for fertility, so if you're looking to get pregnant. What it is, it's a similar type of kit to the adrenal stress index. It's a salivary panel. This kit has 11 tubes that you use and spit into over the period of 30 to 32 days. And so what is meant by this kit, it's, you know, as a female, you have your period. You are cycling. Your hormones they change every day. So to go in on day 21 and get a blood draw of your estrogen and progesterone levels, great. It's telling you what's going on that day, in that moment, but it's not telling you how that interplays with your monthly cycle. So you spit into a tube every couple days. It plots your estrogen and progesterone levels throughout the month. You get a good idea, A, if you're ovulating. So, you know, just because you have a period doesn't mean you're ovulating. And B, it can tell different things like estrogen excess, estrogen deficiency, progesterone excess and deficiency, and it can often give some clues as to what may be going on. So female hormone panel will be done for fertility issues, fibroids, PCOS, any sort of excess bleeding, not enough bleeding, missing your periods. You could consider that. Men, if you want to get your hormones tested too, it's a little bit simpler than you doing a female hormone panel. My recommendation is always just doing this Dutch test. And the Dutch test does the 4P samples throughout the day and then one in the night if you can. And it is a good comprehensive panel for men. Women have to be a little bit more test heavy because your hormones cycle throughout the month. Men is pretty much the same kind of cycle day in, day out. Now, I don't want to forget about thyroid. A lot of us hear about the thyroid. A lot of us have issues with thyroid. A really good test that your medical doctors do is your TSH. It's a test that's drawn by the blood and it gives us a good indicator of how the brain's communicating with the thyroid. You know, for 70% of the time, it's a great test. It indicates a lot of wonderful things, helps doctors figure out how to work with patients, but it misses things sometimes. And so it's important to get a free T4, a free T3, and a reverse T3. And for those 4 things can tell you a whole lot of information about the thyroid. So there's no spit and there's no urine test for that. It is a blood test. And so, you know, I draw your blood in the office and send it off to the lab, or I write a requisition for you and you can have that to go to Life Labs or to a lab near you. So today was really all about hormones and how you can investigate to see whether or not hormones are something that are issues with you. So again, let me recap some of the symptoms that you may be experiencing and you may want to consider whether or not hormones need to be looked at. Any sort of sleep issue, mood issue, depression and anxiety, that's an important thing, especially if you notice women, if you notice that you get more symptoms, more anxiety or more depression right before your period, or if it fluctuates with your period, that's another important sign. Weight gain, weight loss, low energy, maybe drops of energy in the afternoon, inability to wake up in the morning. These would be all things that I would consider getting some hormone testing done. And of course, if you're women dealing with hot flashes and night sweats, vaginal dryness, these are all indications of a decrease in hormone levels. And men, low libido, less decreased energy, muscle tone changing. So good to actually get that checked out. Alrighty guys, my name is Dr. Aaron. Really just coming out here to reach out to everyone. Thank you so much for leaving some suggestions for what I should be talking about today. So I appreciate that suggestion last week. And I can't remember who actually sent me that suggestion, but thank you. And next week I'm taking suggestions for what to talk about. Again, we've got 2 kits I highlighted. I highlighted the Dutch hormone urine test, and I highlighted the salivary panel that tests both women and adrenals. So, Dr. Aaron, over and out. Leave your comment, share this video, and ask me questions. I'm here to help. Okay guys, take care. Talk to you soon.